To
All
Sorcerer
right,
Siege is
folks.
going to be.
Welcome to the Pixels for Peace marathon. We're going to be wrapping things up here with a little bit of King of Dragons. Our good friend Naramgamjam is going to be doing the run for us today. This is going to be the arcade version of the game, so it's going to be a little bit different than you might have seen if you didn't grow up with the arcade cabinet. So I'm going to be joined here by my friend Sorcerer Siege. How are you doing today, Siege?
Doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Doing fabulous. So I'm pretty excited for this. I know you have a little bit more experience than I do in the arcade version. If you want to go over a little bit of the differences right before we kick things off here.
Yeah, there's a couple main changes. The game, first of all, runs significantly faster. It's got a little bit better capabilities than it did the SNES cart ended up having. So we'll have a couple bosses where we'll have other enemies on the screen. Where normally the sprite limitations on the SNES cause that not to work. And overall, the game's quite a bit quicker. You'll also see when the wizard is jumping, he can attack significantly more often because his weapon doesn't have a cooldown time. So you'll see Nama, as we call him in the community, you'll see him abusing that quite a lot on several bosses. Couple quick things we do want to mention if you haven't seen or played King of Dragons before. There are 4 possible seeds that we can get here at the beginning. And based off that drop seed, we could have either there's 4 possible seeds, and 2 of them can be world record pace, and 2 of them are a guaranteed minute or 2 time loss. So if we do end up with either of those, we are going to be losing some time.
A minute, we're going to get our things situated here.
Yeah. But a couple other things we'll let you guys know. So the orbs that you see right now.
Oh, he just hit start here, so we were a little behind on the timer there. So timing usually starts when the character selected. So he is going to be playing as the wizard today. Definitely, as far as the speed run is concerned, the superior character. They all have their benefits, but the wizard in particular has everything going for him with his special attack, and his weapon damage is pretty superb throughout the whole game.
You can also see this lightning orb that we have on the screen. Those orbs make a giant difference in the run, and by bringing them to bosses and large enemy groups, you can see we can take them out rather fast. So the Orc King's already down, our first boss of the run.
Moonwalking for his gold there.
Oh, that's right. You can moonwalk in the arcade version.
You can actually in the Super Nintendo version, too. I didn't find that out until very recently.
Ah, I wasn't aware of that. So we're coming up on the second boss of the run. This is the Minotaur. Just a little bit of cleanup of some orcs before we get there. The Minotaur is kind of an interesting boss. When he loses half his health, he will cause the screen to drop, and we'll end up in this kind of cool Colosseum background. But if all goes well, we're going to bounce him with lightning after he loses his health, and we'll kill him in the air, and you'll see that there was no screen drop, no wasted frames there. Saves 3 to 5 seconds, I believe.
So cruising right along, the pace of the arcade version is significantly faster than the Super Nintendo version, and it makes for some pretty interesting strategy changes. I mean, it really changes the whole feel of the game, to be quite honest. Just with how much faster everything moves and attacks, you can have more enemies on the screen. And the arcade version in particular threw a couple extra special little touches into the game that the SNES port did not have, which we'll be coming across a little bit later.
Here, you're going to see another use of one of those orbs. We'll actually talk about those orbs quite a lot in the run. They are essentially, there's 3 ways to get them. You can get them from a chest, which that one was guaranteed. You can get them when you die and lose a credit, and you can also get them from enemy drops. So we'll see them randomly, and they will make big differences throughout.
So the Wyvern fight here goes in 5 phases, 3 of them in the air, 2 of them on the ground. He does have a breath weapon attack that he can use, which just caught us off guard there. But we're trying to get through each of these phases as quickly as possible. And for the air phases in particular, the magic is generally the faster way for us to do it. Just because the wizard attacking in the air is very, very fast in the arcade version, but our weapon is just not as powerful as our special is at this point in the game.
A little note for you, we can definitely say that Wyvern did not skip leg day at the gym. All right, so this is actually one of the advantages of this seed. The wizard has his level 3 weapon. These slime enemies that we're going to be coming up against shortly can only be hit by 2 characters. One is by the dwarf, who can hit them at all times regardless of weapon. And it's about the only point where the dwarf is a decent character in this game, unfortunately. And the wizard can also hit them with his level 3 and level 4 weapon. So if we don't have that there, it is a little bit slower.
So we're coming up on everybody's favorite boss from this game, the Hydra. He's the biggest source of RNG in this game, and we will despise him forever for it. The heads have a few different attacks. They can do this dive from off screen or on screen. They each have a different breath weapon. And every now and again, sometimes they'll just stand perfectly still, but they won't be able to take any damage. So that was actually a very nice Hydra fight.
Great Hydra. Also, one more thing that's different in the arcade you're going to see here, Nama's going to hold the extra joy, both attack and jump, and it's going to fast forward this text. That is something we wish we could do in the Super Nintendo version for sure. Also, one note, so that Hydra had 3 heads. It has 3 heads in the Super Nintendo, but the Super Nintendo is only capable of having 2 on the screen at a time. So because of that, basically you have to kill one, and then the third one will come onto the screen. So it is a little bit different strategy then.
My boat stage here, the skeletons are one of the most annoying enemies at the game, just because they're one of the first ones that show up that are able to block, and they can cause some real problems for us if we don't time our hits well. He was able to use that frog orb there to take care of all of the troglodytes. Those are another real nuisance enemy. They have a ton of health this early in the game, and they can do a lot of damage to you when our defense isn't beefed up a little bit.
All right, we're coming up on the birds. On this landing, it's kind of strange. If you can kill 3 birds on the screen right at the end of the stage, then you'll advance immediately to the next one. But if you only kill 2 of them at a time, you'll keep spawning more until I think you kill 6 total. So you actually can waste quite a bit of time just waiting for birds to spawn. So that was actually really fast. A couple more skeletons here to clean up, and then we'll be coming up on Minotaur 2. He's going to go down a lot faster than the first one, and we don't have to worry about the screen dropping when he cracks the ground. You can see Nama taking advantage of that jump mechanic and that lack of cooldown time. Really letting him just power through these guys fast.
Yeah, that was a super fast Minotaur too. So this is one of the longer sequences in the game, all leading up to a boss fight with the Cyclops. We do still have a few more skeletons we've got to get through here. This stair climb can be pretty tricky, so anytime we can see an extra orb drop is always a welcome sight, particularly for these guys, just to get through all of these groups, because they can, once they swarm around you, they can really start doing a lot of damage. The wizard doesn't have a lot of buffer for that.
Wow, he powered through those skeletons. The skeletons actually can die in 1 hit with the wizard on the arcade version, but that's another point. They always take at least 2 hits at this early stage with the wizard in the SNES. Yeah, as you can see, when they're swinging, a lot of times they are invincible, and same with when they shield. So, I mean, they can go down in 1 hit. They can sometimes just eat inputs. All right, we're up against the Cyclops. He has basically 3 attacks. He can punch or grab. You saw there he punched and then grabbed in the same motion. And then he also can grab chunks of ceiling and throw them at you. Again, that was actually a really fast fight. He was able to get through him quite quickly. Didn't take a lot of damage. Hanging on to this orb here, too.
Yeah, being able to preserve the continue orbs for when you really need them is a nice little trick to routing this game out. Depending on where you end up taking your continues can make huge swings of time, especially when you're using those orbs on bosses.
Oh, we forgot. We forgot the thief. I
Oh
just
my
realized.
goodness.
So yeah, one of the because of sprite limitations, they weren't able to include him in the Super Nintendo. But you can see there is a thief that will come out and steal your treasure if you don't pick it up. And since it is a speed run, we tend to leave it there quite a bit longer than we probably should. All right, so that death orb came out. He's probably going to save that for the end of the stage, so that actually might work out quite well in his favor, depending on how trolly these skeletons are. Going to clean up a few enemies, and then there's these very annoying lizard men that also can eat inputs, and oh nice, he's able to get all 4 of them. It's really good.
Yeah, that was a very good spider forest.
This boss is extremely susceptible to the wizard's magic attack, so you'll see we pretty much just power through him using our extra joy, as they call it, and our attack. Thief also doing what he does best, trying to walk off with our health, that health potion there, but Nama was able to catch him before he went off the screen and was able to get his heal item there.
This is Tree. He's going to give us a weapon that we don't actually really care for. The level 5 weapon does basically the same damage as the weapon we have, but it breaks it up into smaller bits because it's a flame-based weapon. So the range on it changes, the attack speed on it changes, the hitbox changes, and the damage output changes. And really, for these two particular, these next 2 stages, with a lot of skeletons and lizards, this is just the superior weapon to have for it. Fortunately, the upgrades will continue to scale through the game, so if we skip a weapon now, we can still get our next weapon after that at a later stage.
Shout out to the Meteor Orb, but the most useless of all the orbs in the game, and quite despised by us as it's completely unreliable and will waste a lot of time when hit. We'll see if Nama decides to actually use that here. Oh, there it goes. Hey! That was a good meteor.
It's always nice to see it actually doing something.
So it's capable of taking out everything on the screen. It's also capable of wasting 5 seconds, or 3 seconds in its animation and killing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad in the arcade version, but just having that orb taunting you and having a possibility of just losing time from it is pretty upsetting. It's a very nice Dragon Rider fight.
That jump lack of cooldown from jumping and attacking is really, really wonderful against the Dragon Rider. Yes, that is a dragon he's riding. I know it looks like a T-Rex. It's a wingless dragon, so we try not to comment on it. It does make him feel bad. And Capcom wasting no time on bringing him back. You're gonna see our recolor of that Dragon Rider in just a moment here.
So we're pulling this frog orb along with us. Unfortunately, we're not able to turn this Dragon Rider into a frog himself, but we can utilize that a little bit for a little extra damage on him, or just to turn some of these orcs into frogs themselves.
Yeah, no, there's good orb
nice
drop.
Bonus
There's
orb.
those random orbs. So as we mentioned, the sprite limitations are different in this. You can actually run straight to this next mini boss fight, and if you can despawn all these lizard men, that ice might have slowed him down. Oh, no, he's able to do it. So he was able to despawn most of the lizard men and start spawning the enemies from later in the stage. That actually saves quite a significant amount of time as of just trying to fight everything.
Yeah, he is just cruising through it. Having that orb to help with the second Dragon Rider makes a ton of time save, too.
And as you can see, so these spear holders, I always grew up calling them pentlemen because they're like these ballistic spear things, but they look like your typical Ticonderoga. Nonetheless, we always call them pentlemen. They're relatively harmless as long as you get a good hit on them.
The ninja fight here can be a little trolly here. We're trying to... Every time he jumps, he leaves himself open to a magic attack, so we're hoping he jumps so we can use this orb right now. we were able to get full damage off of that without worrying about him blocking. He can actually block magic with his sword. It's pretty impressive.
Alright.
This is
Gotta-
Jerk Knight. One of the best parts about the arcade game is we don't have to listen to him hardly at all. He's just going to send us on a quest that we never asked to go on, and we'll never see him again. So thank you very much.
All right, coming up on the mummies here. So the mummies, essentially in the arcade, they're not as bad because we can do damage a lot faster. But essentially what we want to do with them is we just want to despawn them off the screen by sending them flying backwards, or just kill them as quickly as you can. They can eat a lot of damage, so it can be relatively slow. Yeah, and we're actually seeing he's actually on a really amazing pace right now. Man, yeah, this is looking great. If he can get through these wraiths quickly, the wraiths can be a little bit trolly. Basically, the way they work, they throw scythes at you, or they can damage you by hitting you with their bodies. But if you hit them first, their bodies hitboxes disappear. So you essentially just want to keep smacking them and keeping their scythes from getting you in the back. Nama's also going to want to have some health left over at the end of this fight in hopes that he can use some quick kills on some skeletons on the next stage. Wraiths are angry. They turn red.
Yeah, we're on pretty great pace so far. Getting into this stage, this can be a big swing in either direction for any good run. The boss at the end of this stage has a flair for the dramatic, and we are kind of at the mercy of extra orb drops on this stage to really make him a non-issue. So we've got a lot of opportunities for orbs from all of these archers, as you'll see right there. So that's going to help us clear out some of these lizards.
Nope, that lizard man took a hit as the orb was being struck, so he actually was invulnerable, and the orb missed him there. It's a little unfortunate. Yeah, as Nam was saying, the archers are very capable of dropping orbs. They have, for some reason, a higher drop rate. And also, we're going to fight more of them here and hopefully get some good drops. And you can also see we're coming up on that next death orb. So hopefully we'll see that on this Dragonian, and if possible, we might be able to save a lot of time here. All right, no orb lock, it looks like.
He is set up for the death orbs, so he's got that working for him.
Nope, getting trolled by a few lizard men off screen. Oh, good. All right, so sometimes it can take a long time for the Dragon Rider to actually... Wow.
Where did he even go?
Oh, man. All right, so because once again, he pulled out his shield and was invulnerable for when he hit that orb. He ended up not being able to damage him with it. That was... that's so unfortunate. Yeah, the Dragonian can just be atrocious like this. Oh, we're also getting to see his dramatic moment. If you kill him when he's slightly off the screen, apparently that's not good enough for his dramatic debut, so he will actually walk into the center of the screen, wasting a few seconds doing so. Dark Alexander and I on a co-op run have even had him fly up right after taking his last hit, leave the screen, land back on the screen, only to be slightly off the screen and then walk back on the screen. So he really can waste quite a lot of time. All right, this is going to be the last of the Dragon Riders that we're going to see in this run. And once again, you can see, unlike the Super Nintendo, we're spawning all the other enemies along with it. So you actually do pretty well to kill off a lot of these skeletons. If you can kill a good amount of them before the Dragon Rider's dead, you actually will be pretty quick to get to the boss.
So using that death orb to clear out the last of those red sworded skeletons.
And we got Oh, sorry. We got the Black Ninja. You can see the Black Knight drop out of the top right screen for just a split second there. Not sure why he's there, but for some reason that happens from time to time. So a little shout out to that.
So kind of like the first ninja fight, this one can be kind of tricky depending on how they want to cooperate with you. If they get on either side and start attacking with you, it definitely gets a little trickier. And of course, if they want to stand completely off the screen, so you have to go and chase them down, that's also quite frustrating. So able to finish him off with that orb there.
One of the points we didn't mention about the orbs in the arcade, when you end up getting a death orb and on the screen, then you get this little cutscene here where you have to reselect the wizard. It wastes like a second or two, but getting the death orb on the last hit of a boss right at the end of a stage, it will actually be a time loss just because of that little segment. These imps are pretty straightforward. I can't remember the number of them that actually show up, but basically you just have to wait until they're gone. In the Super Nintendo version, we can kind of hide from them. Here, that's not an option, so you see that we just had to kind of attack through them as best we could. Ooh, we got a lightning orb drop. Oh my gosh, he could get a really quick kill on this baby mage.
Very nice.
Shout out to Baby Mage for leaving quickly. All right, that text can also be fast forwarded through. It means you won't have time to grab most of the treasure before the fight, but that's fine. You don't have to talk to the wizard then.
So taking a little intentional damage here. Being able to alternate between your normal attacks and your special just makes this a really trivial fight. You can kind of cancel out all the damage from his magic with your own, so you're still outputting damage all the time, but you don't have to worry about his various attacks. As long as he doesn't bounce around too much, he's pretty easy to keep constant damage on.
There's a trick you can do here where if you get your continue orb on the second group, you can save a pretty good amount of time. Nama's still got a pretty good amount of health left, so I'm not sure that he's going to be set up for it. Oh, well, never mind. Okay, you got the fire orb. That's a little slower, but it can still do pretty well against these guys. Doesn't get an insta-kill like the lightning would, but he can clean him up with one shot of magic, and it's a pretty quick fight. We're looking at the best weapon in the game, a lightning shooting staff. And if it didn't already look awesome, its damage output is amazing. Oh man, that orb drop. Wow. Once again, just a recolor of the previous Wyvern. Having that orb does actually save a good amount of time on that first phase. But as you can see, this weapon, especially with the fact that the jump cancels work so well, just lets you go through this guy so fast.
Yeah, this weapon is really, really crazy, especially in comparison to the rest of the other characters. And it's part of the reason the wizard is hands down the fastest through the end of the game, because the damage and the range on it is just insane.
And that was a 3-second gold split for Nama. That second orb drop was really spectacular.
Coming into another big segment full of the mummies. At this point, they're not nearly as hard to deal with because the lightning is just so crazy powerful. But we have quite a few of them to deal with here. And that just does take a little bit of time, but making real quick work of it.
He's
very, very easy.
Yeah, he's using very precise timing on each one of those attacks. It actually takes, normally there's much more cooldown time than that, but he's able to hit those mummies and then immediately get another attack in, just like he's doing on the red Cyclops here. And that's how he's able to take him out. It only takes 4 hits per mummy, and so you can just clean him up super quickly. And speaking of cleaning up quickly, this is a very, very quick Cyclops fight here.
Looked like he was trying to set it up. There's a way to skip the text at the end of it if you kill both of the Cyclops at the same time. But it is very, very tricky to get that kill simultaneously.
All right, so we're in the treasure room of the dragon, and as much as we might like to rob all these chests and grab all of the gold and stuff like that, that is very slow. So it's just gonna have to wait.
I'm sure once we get to fighting a dragon, we'll be showered in gold.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, so Gildas basically has, I think it's 5? No, yeah, 5 phases. He basically, for the first 3, takes 2 bars of health each, and then he'll flip sides of the screen, blowing you to the bottom of the screen, as you can see there, each time. And then once he gets down to the last 2 bars, he'll switch after each bar.
Yeah, just by utilizing the wizard's magic, it really kind of trivializes this final boss fight. Part of me almost wishes it were a little bit more involved, but just because of the way the iframes work, it's pretty easy to set this up for a very consistent fight every single time, especially having the help of one of the continue orbs there. It just makes it a super smooth boss fight. So it's nice to have some consistency at the end of the run, too. I'm not going to complain about that. So far, able to have some really clean phases here. It's going to be putting the final hit on the boss here very shortly, and time will end when he raises his arm after all of the gold has fallen. Coming up here in about 12 seconds.
Yeah, just a few more seconds. He's going to go to the left side of the screen. And time. Wow.
Very nice. 24-25 is a super solid run.
I know Nama was really hoping to get a sub 25. Was nervous about whether he'd pull it off, so he's going to be really happy about this.
Yeah, that was a great run, and through the first half of it, he was definitely on PB pace. So
he actually,
just a few things here and there that could have you could have gotten a little bit luckier on, and things could have turned for the better.
His PB's a 23:55, so he was maybe even a 56, so he was almost like right at 30 seconds away from it. And the world record is a 23:39, so this is a run that was within a minute of the world record. So it's really an outstanding run, really well done.
All right, well, a fabulous run. Awesome way to wrap up the night. It's a wonderful game. If you've never gotten the chance to play the arcade cabinet, it's a lot of fun, and it's definitely different than the Super Nintendo version if you were familiar with that from home play. Definitely want to give shout-outs to Naramgamjam, doing an awesome job on the run. Definitely go and give him a follow. Shout-outs to Coltaho for doing the restreaming for us. Iridescence, we got doing the hosting, so it's been an awesome day. We blew the goals out of the water, and I'm super excited to see what the next 2 days are going to bring us. Definitely want to thank my buddy Sorcerer Siege here for joining me on the commentary. I'm glad we were able to do this together and come out and support our friend and raise money for a good cause.
And of course, a thank you back at you, Dark Alexander. We also just want to let people know, so this was recently released on the Twitch Brawlers, which was released on the Switch, and I think even is being released on a few other systems. If you are interested in joining into this community and getting involved in these runs, please check it out. Get on the speedruns.com page. Check out the Discord server that Dark Alexander set up, and come join us and come hang out. We're always willing to offer strats, offer ideas on how to speed up runs, or just share in our moments of misery when things don't go well.
All right, with that, I think we can throw it back to Iridescence to bring us home for the first day of the marathon. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. That was a fantastic run of the King of Dragons. It's been a long day here. I want to thank everybody who's come out and donated, watched the run, supported their friends. I want to thank to Colt for doing the restreaming. All the people involved. We're gonna have a long break here. It's gonna be about 4 and a bit hours before we get the runs back underway. Give some people some time to catch some shut-eye and some food and all of the stuff required to be healthy human beings. So when we come back, we have a really quick. The first run will be Wild Guns, followed up by Goof Troop, and then Puss. So we've got those 3 runs coming up after the break. So thank you all for all the donations. We've, like as Alexander did say, we did smash our goal. We are in the range of doubling last year. So let's try and get that done before day 2. The end of day 2, more to the point. So thank you all for coming. Have a good break, and we'll see you again later on, or in the morning for most people, I would assume.